Hello everyone, this is me, Dusty Circuit here. And with today being that Skade's having a week of all these throwback events to commemorate its 5th anniversary. I figured I maybe I'll make a video. Well, I've already made a video talking about some of the history of my base. Well, maybe that I haven't talked about in previous videos, but I feel like this deserves its own video, and that I'm gonna talk about what's one of my favorite moments of being on Skade are. I've made a video like this previously, but there have been at least a couple of new things that I can add to this list that have happened since that last video. But I guess we'll go through it. Well, I already have a list that I have pulled up on my second screen of what all the different things I'm gonna be talking about in chronological order, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe one or two of those things is out of order. But well, firstly, the opening of Skade Gaming, like the opening of this community in general, which, well, for what is a pretty big deal, that Skade Gaming was created to a lot of people, to a lot of skaters, but to me in particular, it was a really big deal because, well, in the previous community that I was on, that all of us have came from, things have kind of not, well, let's just say, the staff and most particularly the owner of the previous community have not treated us particularly well. And let's just say the owner did not, mostly cared about themselves and their own gains that unfortunately came at the expense of us. And it eventually came to a tipping point where enough was enough, and Blue and Nuari finally said it's time for us to leave and start our own community, start our own gaming community with a new name. And then which came to be called Skade Gaming. And for me, this was a huge. This is probably one of the most important events of my whole life, because on that old server, basically the old server was just ran very poorly, and it just became laggier and laggier as more people came on to play, especially during the pandemic. And it just got so bad that the server owner really had to make the redstone, like the rules for redstone and even mob counts on the little kid server even more stricter than they were before. And on the big kid server, the farm team was founded in order to stop that server owner from implementing hard rules there. But even then, the farm team had to be just really strict about what redstone was allowed for individual players. and also for a good amount of time, the farm team could not pass player submissions because the server was just so laggy and so unstable that the farm team just could not get reliable testing results. To where like even, and it was so laggy that even just the TPS would be affected even by the community farms, and on some occasions. And also both servers ended up sharing the same resources, and so if one server lagged, the other server lagged too. So it's both a lot of those factors just were conspiring against us. And I went through a period where I just couldn't get farms approved. And there was even a period where I just didn't trust the farm team, and then even I might have modified a few farms in secret without telling them. But then I eventually revealed that out of guilt, but that led to a lot of my farms just had to be locked down for a few months while the farm team could reapprove them. And let's just say one submission I really wanted to pass, that being my auto sorter, like an upgrade to my main storage room, couldn't pass. And so that proved to be the straw that broke the camel's back, and I may have vented publicly about it, which only made the farm team more angry, and some of the Valkyrie, the admins more angry, and then I maybe had a toxic relationship with another player that didn't help things, and well, all those things just conspired to make the end of 2020 through the year of 2021 up until the founding of Skade Gaming, possibly the most miserable period of my whole life. Well, mostly just because my life on this community that I've been a member of for several years up to that point was just hanging in the balance because of, well, it just seemed like I couldn't pursue my redstone passion on the server anymore, and if I wanted to continue that, looks like I'd have to go back to playing on single player, which I did for a period of time, but I guess I just never got past the early stages of the game. And I was even heavily considering just moving my main base with Lightmatica onto a single player world so I could continue playing Minecraft the way I wanted to, but I guess part of me just didn't want to do that. Part of me really wanted to start a whole new base all over again. But, well, long story short, I maybe played a few other games just to distract myself during that period until Skade Gaming was founded and the Midgard server opened, and that finally marked the end of that chapter of my life in Minecraft. But started a new chapter, which is still going on to this day. And kind of for that reason, the opening of Skade Gaming as a community was one of the most memorable moments for me. I guess the next memorable moment being my portal room. And why particularly this made my list is this portal room, being that it is very heavily redstone oriented. It needed to be approved by the farm team, and the farm team was still, like, I guess, kind of getting used to the new server, which was still very new at the time. And I guess they were still unsure of what redstone the server can handle. But, well, both that, and also the fact that this portal room is nestled in an area where every other portal room on the server is, which you can see on my mini-map here. Like, all of these boxes are player portal rooms. And then I think the larger ones are, like, portal rooms for the... Like, I think that's the events. I think this is the events portal room here. That's the... I think one of these is the birthday portal room, but some of these are also more for, teams. Like, I have no idea what that room's for. So, like, some of these only, like, the birthday team and the farm team have access to. But, because my portal room is, like, crammed in with all these other portal rooms, the farm team has to consider would the redstone in my portal room affect my neighbors as well. So for that purpose, they have to be more strict about what could be approved in my portal room. And originally, my portal room was going to have 2 levels to it, or this was the main level, and the ceiling was around at this point. And then above that was the second level, where I planned to have like a miniature storage room that I think was based on Etho's, forget what they called it. I think they called it the Pixel. Like, it was their, basically like a storage system that where you can have shulker, or rather than sorting everything that goes into it, you have shulker boxes full of random items, and then you have like a list of all the different items, which is just basically just like one of every item in the storage system that are in chests that you can put into the system, and it'll basically search for all the shulkers that contain that item. And my plan was to have that at least as a temporary storage room that's in my portal room until my base can be pasted in by blue. But the farm team couldn't approve both that and all this redstone floor in the same area. So I ended up just foregoing that, and instead just having these chests that are connected to these redstone lamps that show what chests are full of items or not. And, well, getting this portal room approved made my list just because it had to go through the farm team, and it is still to this day my most important builds, and also that I use every day. So this portal room would have changes made to it over the years. Most notably, that I finally decided to just raise the ceiling from about this level up to there, and just make the portal room bigger and have more open space. Which also means I have what I'm walking on here is glass that is made invisible by a resource pack that I have. And that up in this floor, I have a whole nother level that I can use for portals if I want to. Which is pretty cool. The next memorable moment to talk about would be the pasting in of my underwater base by Blue. And to give more context on this, Blue had said that for a lot of us who are moving from the old server to the new server that wants to save builds from the old server, if we have schematics of those builds, she will paste them in for us. And of course, I obviously had to make use of that to bring my base over because, well, by that point, I've had this base for roughly about 3 years, and I wasn't about to. I was like, if I had the option to save it and carry it with me, I was obviously going to do that. And though many skaters have chosen to not bring their builds with them because it has too many bad memories associated with them being on that server, and if maybe something particularly bad happened over there, maybe they don't want to bring too many memories of that server with them. But for me, this base means a lot to me, and I guess I saw this base as more attached to me as a person than attached to the server that it was built on. And so I opted to just have it copied over. But it took a few months for it to be brought over because, well, Blue having to go through the whole process that goes with creating a whole new Minecraft server and Discord server, like an entire new community, like basically from scratch. Blue naturally had a lot on her plate. And I guess pasting my base in kind of had to take a back seat to some things, and there are a few moments where I got a little impatient. But fortunately, was actually on, I think actually pretty close to my birthday, on, I think it was around July of 2021, when my base finally was pasted in. And when I had it put in, I opted to, rather than have it be this exact same layout as my old base, I had it done a little bit differently. where I think I had the Guardian Farm pasted here because, well, this is a different seed from the old server, and so, of course, the ocean monuments are in a different place, so, well, even though I had 3 others to choose from, I guess I decided to put it here, because it was the farthest away from the lobby. And I think the old storage room I put here, the new storage room I put here, and the smelter I put here. And then I just kind of expanded the base out from there. So yeah, the pasting in of my underwater base has to be, of course, makes the list because it's one of the most important builds to me, and it's even to this day it still lives on. At least then the next memorable event on my list is the New Year's Eve event countdown clock. And why that makes my list is it's actually something that I actually have it's actually one of my biggest contributions to Skade's event builds. Like, even so much so that every year the event team actually invites me in temporarily so that I can like do what needs to be done in order to prep the countdown clock for the next New Year's Eve event. And if memory serves, I actually contributed a New Year's Eve countdown clock to the previous server, but of course we made a new one for this server, which is still in use to this day. And all the redstone that you see here, at least back here, is all me. And also the redstone for the fireworks, and for the the final countdown song was also by me. Though the dance floor, I believe, was contributed by Nin. And I think then it just I think it starts as soon as the final countdown song plays. But I'm actually not like I'm actually not a member of any of the Skade teams, purely for the reason that I just found it's just too much responsibility for me. And it's just, I much rather prefer to be free and just be free to do my own projects and do my own things, rather than like to have my own responsibilities versus having to every day show up to a team meeting, which means like any activities that I'm doing, I have to take time out of those in order to show up for team meetings. And but I still appreciate the event team at least making the exception of allowing me like every year to keep up with this. I keep this to keep this build running. Like, do what's necessary to keep it running every year. And it's for that reason this build also makes my list. And well, I put all these walkways around here so that, well, you can, this is accessible without fly. Oh, the other next thing I have, the next memorable moment I have on my list is, well, just kind of overall the improvements that Farm Team has made since Skade's opening. And well, and like, so in the beginning of Skade, I still was like I was still trying to get back to good terms with the farm team, because a lot of the stuff that happened on the old server was still rather fresh. And well, it wasn't so much that the farm team was on bad terms with me or didn't trust me, but it was more so that just we were still like the server was still new, and we're still under a lot of the old rules from the old server, and we're still like trying to, I guess, find a new balance of like where everything's I guess where everything is happy, and like wherever we're like the and the farm team has to keep in mind, like when they approve builds for players, that like it's not unfair to other players, and also it doesn't affect the server in any negative way. And the farm team was still kind of on the strict side, like in the earlier years of Skade, but also sometimes submissions would take long to be approved. But I've found like other ways of dealing with this, mostly in the form of just playing a different game to distract myself, or finding other activities to do on Midgard. Even though Redstone is like the most like, because has been a core aspect of my playstyle for the past like several years, or even more. But in more recent years, the farm team has really stepped up their game, and even like the biggest example of that. This storage room has been like, this storage room has to have been the most troubled, one of my most troubled redstone builds ever. Like, on the old server, it had to, like it had to be like really, I mean, like on the old server, it was limited to just these first four rows. Like, and I was not allowed to have any more than this, which meant that for me on the old server, it didn't have enough space to store all my items, so I had to get a little bit creative with like where I would keep my items, and even have maybe even have a section of my storage room that's not auto sorted, just to be able to fit everything. And I really wanted to have all my items being auto sorted. So, well, first I submitted it to be upgraded on the old server, and that couldn't happen. But then I submitted this again on this server, and I've done that 2 different times, and it was able to be expanded up to this point here. And like, the fact that the farm team has allowed me to make it that much bigger is shows quite the quite the and like how much the situation has improved just around redstone and farms in general on this server. But if that wasn't impressive enough, this here has to be one of my most complex redstone submissions to date. As basically an over-engineered diamond counter, where basically you I put all my diamonds in this chest, and then all this redstone basically does like it calculates how many basically does math to determine how many diamonds I put in there, and displays it on and then displays it as a number here. And a couple of years ago, I would have never guessed that farm team would allow me to make something that uses this much redstone, but I was kind of surprised, and also that they even allowed me to upgrade it, like use like more redstone to make it even faster. And I can't thank them enough. for this. And when another thing, well, the next thing on my list is Renelf's terraforming of my base, which, well, to provide context, when I first pasted this basin and this ocean, it also brought a lot of the old terrain along with it, because I also had a lot of underground areas of my base, so I just decided to not only bring the build, but also the whole like ground that's underneath of it along with it. And so when this was pasted in, there was a lot of, like, for example, when this lobby was first pasted in, it had like a square of gravel around it where the old terrain that this was built on was brought over along with the build. And that was rather ugly looking, and I really wanted it to look like the space actually belongs here. And so I've meant to do all the terraforming necessary to hide that. But terraforming just has to be one of my least favorites. Has to be one of my least favorite things to do in this game. And while it had to be done, I really just didn't feel like doing it all by myself. So I tried reaching out to other skaters, but none of them really wanted to help. Because either they didn't have the free time, or they just didn't feel like setting aside the free time to do terraforming, and especially for a build that isn't theirs, which in retrospect I don't blame them, but it's just really frustrating to me as a player, because it means I'm on the server where I'm on a multiplayer server full of people that don't want to help me or can't help me, which was quite frustrating. But a few years ago, Renelf opened a shop where they sold items, but also offered a terraforming service, which I saw as an opportunity to finally have this job done. And at first, my expectations were rather low of what they would be willing to do. I was only expecting them maybe to do the lobby, if that. But they offered, like, hey, if you want me to do your whole base, I can do that as well. And I was like, okay, sure thing, go ahead. And it took them several months, but they did it. And I had to pay, I think the final price I had to pay was maybe like, I think it was maybe 30 or 32 diamond blocks or something along those lines. But for that, for that price, I could not complain for them having done this whole all of this work for me. And I can't thank them enough. And so for that reason, that also makes my list. And the next thing was the opening of Asgard 1 and 2, which modded Minecraft has always been a favorite like thing of mine, and I think I've actually played modded Minecraft on and off since at least, I want to say since 2015, which was about a year after I joined the old community, the old Little Kids server. But my computer that I had at the time was just very limited in what mods it could run, or what mod packs it could run, so I actually was forced to either play very small mod packs or modify existing mod packs just to get the experience that I wanted. But I believe around maybe as early as 2018, the idea was pitched by Blue and Nulari to start a modded server, but just due to everything going on the old server, and also due to the pandemic in some parts, the modded server got delayed until, I want to say, maybe 2021 or 2022, and which was when the first Asgard opened, or around Halloween, actually on the day of the Halloween event. And at first, things didn't go, I mean, things went smoothly, all things considered, but there were some hiccups, especially with the first server, and which even included one base having to be relocated due to chunks being overloaded. But outside of that server, I mean, considering it's the first ever modded server that we had, I'd say it actually went decently well, all things considered. But the second Asgard was a big improvement in that it was way more stable and way smoother than the first Asgard. And it introduced me, as well as many other players, to new mods that we've never used before. And I had the experience that was automating most of the modern industrialization mod with applied energistics too. And yeah, that has to be, like, I think one of my most favorite experiences that I've had playing modded Minecraft thus far. And for that reason, it makes the Asgard makes my list. And the next thing is my underwater base being featured on Wreck-It Wednesday. Which, Wreck-It Wednesday, for those of you who don't know, was a weekly event that the Valkyries on Skade hosted for, I want to say it was maybe for several months. This was a weekly thing where the Valkyries would copy a build, paste it in just a random location on the server, and we would all blow it up. We would all be given, we would all be allowed to place TNT, but I think we were limited to like a certain number of stacks of TNT per player. And then once we're done placing all our TNT, then we set it off and then we watch it explode. And has had to be one of my most favorite weekly events that we've ever done on Skade. And I was just dreaming that maybe one day one of my builds could be featured on Wreck-It Wednesday, and lo and behold, around my birthday, of all times, I think in 2013 or 2014, I believe, not all of my base, but I think it was this room, maybe some of this, maybe that room, and, the main lobby, and I think even the room below the main lobby was actually featured on Wreck-It Wednesday, which I was just over the moon that day with just how special that felt, having like one of my most influential builds I've ever made on Skade Gaming being featured on Wreck-It Wednesday. That was a really that was also a really memorable moment for me. And now we're finally getting into the more recent events. And this one being the 1.21 update. And why this update is, well, it was when the auto crafter was added to Minecraft. And well, me being autistically hyperfixated on redstone, that's been one of my most favorite updates, purely for the reason that we finally have auto crafting in the vanilla game. Like, it's been in modded for who knows how many years, and the fact that we finally can do it, we finally can use auto crafting in the base game, is a big deal to me. But especially a big deal that Midgard was finally able to update to this update, and that I can finally make use of auto crafting throughout my base and throughout my farms. And we're finally at the very last thing, or at least that I've put on my list, and that is there were two rule changes, pretty significant rule changes that were made, I believe if not this year, maybe just maybe very late last year, and those being vanilla nether portals being allowed. Like, we're allowed to use vanilla nether portals on Midgard now. And TNT duping, but only used for farms. Though those two changes were very big to me because, well, but for the longest time, these portals that can only be mod regged in by Valkyries, that can only be made by Valkyries, were the only portals that we can have. But though we can finally, we can also finally use vanilla nether portals now. And I personally haven't done much with them yet, but I do have plans. I do have visions for them. I just haven't implemented them yet. But the TNT duping change was I think even more big because, well, all those tree farms that have been so popular in the Minecraft community these days that utilize TNT duping, that for many years were not allowed because the TNT duping was considered an illegal exploit, like kind of similar to item duplication, but that we were just not allowed to use on Midgard. But since, I guess the farm team and the Valkyries, so I guess more the Valkyries, acknowledge that the TNT duping has been a part of the game for many years, and even Mojang has, even Mojang can't bring themselves to removing it because it's just been a part of the game. It's been a game mechanic that people have been using for so long that they can't remove it unless they can provide an alternative mechanic that they can put in its place when TNT duping gets removed. So, we finally can use TNT duping, but only for farms. Like, we cannot use it for... Well, as the rule stands right now, it cannot be used for other purposes than farms. But even still, even though I wish that maybe someday we can be allowed to use it for, like, maybe localized land removal, like not like world eaters, but just like maybe just a couple, like maybe we just can, maybe a small machine that just drops TNT to remove, like to do localized land removal. I mean, as much as I wish we had that, it's still awesome, at least, that we can finally build tree farms that utilize TNT duping. But even before TNT duping was allowed, I still had been making use of a TNT blast chamber in a few of my farms that makes more efficient use of TNT, and that it can break 240 blocks with every TNT block that it consumes. But since the TNT duping is allowed now, I modified all my blast chamber farms to use TNT duping now. And that's about all I have on my list of my most memorable Skade moments. So, I think that's about a good time to end the video off here. And if you liked this has been me, Dusty Circuit, and if you liked what you saw, remember, leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you want to see my next videos, be sure to hit the bell for notifications. And peace out. Bye.